October 24th, and this is Geeknights. Tonight, we bring you our coverage of Ubercon, though we are still compressorless.
Let's do this.
Man, I don't know what was in the air today, but on my way to work, I passed 4 independent, serious, life-threatening accidents.
Whoa, that's kind of screwy.
Like, literally, on my way to work, 4 separate, unrelated accidents that involved completely destroyed, mangled cars. And the thing is, they were all individual accidents that only involved a single car.
I didn't see any accidents, but I was driving, and this guy in front of me was making a left turn, and he made it. He was just turning off a road onto another road, but his car totally went like, "Arr!" I don't know what he was doing.
Not knowing how to drive, apparently.
Some piece of shit car, too. I don't know. Maybe he had bad tires or something.
Yeah, but anyway, before we begin, I would like to apologize again. I'll be doing this all week for the audio quality. It seems we left the power cable to our compressor at Ubercon, and as the company is not very forthcoming in sending us the replacement part in any reasonable span, we are stuck compressorless until next week when the new compressor we just bought arrives.
It might show up before next week if we're lucky.
I guarantee it won't.
It could. There's a chance.
No, not really.
Small chance.
Not before next week on the show.
Very small chance.
No, because tonight's over, and tomorrow's Wednesday already, and it's not going to come Thursday.
It might, Travis.
Considering I didn't even order it yet.
Yeah, there's free shipping, though. It might be free overnight shipping, and then we're set.
Yeah, I highly doubt that. So anyway, Geeknights sounds now like it did about a year ago before we had professional equipment.
And it'll sound better soon enough.
Yeah, so to any of you who were complaining about, how we spend money on all of our fancy equipment, this is what you get without that fancy equipment.
Yeah, a lot of people, I don't know how many podcasters use compressors, not many. And I know a lot of them that do have compressors, aren't audio engineers, and they don't know how to set them up properly, and they might have them set up okay, or they might have them set up in a useless fashion, but it makes a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, most of the people who don't have compressors seem to say that, oh, we don't need one, or, you guys just wasted money on that, but here's proof.
Yeah, listen to the episode last week and then listen to this one and to tell me there's a difference or not.
But anyway, like we said, today we'll have our coverage of Ubercon, but first, the news.
All right. So, Lik Sang. You know Lik Sang, that company in Hong Kong.
The company that makes all the awesome mod chip import stuff.
Well, they don't make them. They sell imported video game consoles, video game modifications and chips and things, and they'll ship almost anywhere in the world, mostly to the U.S., Europe, etc., etc. And they're pretty reliable. I mean, this is a place, ordering that kind of stuff is often shady. You buy a mod chip, you don't know if that guy's going to send it to you, if he's going to take your money and head for the hills.
Granted, I've never had a problem.
Yeah, true. But Lik Sang is a very trustworthy company.
Well, was.
Until now, they've decided to go under.
Now, not to Australia under, but gone under.
Yes, this could be the end of Lik Sang. Now, they've agreed that anyone who already ordered something is going to get a refund and, all that good stuff. So if they're going to take care of all their current business, but once they're done with their current business and they've got it all cleared out, there will be no more Lik Sang.
See, this is really sad because they were not only such an upstanding company who provided a service that a lot of people wanted and needed, especially Europeans who don't have access to a lot of the games that they want to play.
Mm-hmm.
But
they get the games way late.
Even when they've been completely dicked over by the whole industry and they're going under, they still stay around long enough to settle all their debts.
Yep. So anyway, Lik Sang is saying that the reason they have to go out of business is because Sony sued them to death. And what basically the idea that I can get from reading a couple blogs.
Great.
Yeah. Well, all the blogs seem to report the same thing.
That means something.
It sure does. Is that Sony was mad about Lik Sang sending PSPs over to Europe before the PSP was released in Europe. So they sued Lik Sang in every European country one at a time. Lik Sang couldn't afford to defend itself in any European country. So Sony went to court in London. Lik Sang didn't show up. Sony got a judgment against Lik Sang, of course. And Lik Sang is basically screwed. They can't do business, in Europe anymore. So Lik Sang put out a press release saying, we have to go out of business because Sony sued us. We can't afford to fight it. We're done.
See, Sony just is doing nothing but evil lately.
Right. Now, here's the other thing, is that just now, or not too long ago, Sony said, you just got sour grapes. We did, you shouldn't be having to go out of business. You're not paying any court fees. You didn't show up. You're not paying the fee to us because, I don't know, I guess, the judge said they had to pay a fee to Sony, but Lik Sang isn't paying it. They're just not doing business in Europe anymore, so they didn't really lose any current monies. They're just losing the possibility of European business.
Well, Europe's their primary market.
I guess it is, yeah. The other thing is, Lik Sang accused Sony of buying PSPs in Europe, to, I guess, prove that they were selling PSPs to Europe. And Sony was pretty wise in this in their response, is they were like, yeah, we did that for, if we did it, it was for investigatory reasons. I don't know how to say that. Is that a word, investigatory?
See, now what really bothers me here is simply that this should be a free trade issue. If a company wants to buy another company's product and sell it somewhere, and it's not like they're saying they're Sony or anything. They're very clearly reselling something. There's nothing false about what they're doing. How could this possibly actually be illegal? It shouldn't be.
Well, I think the reason it's illegal is because there's a difference between a retailer and a person. A retailer buys things wholesale from a distributor and then sells them with an agreement with the producer of the product and,
and
you
know
all that
what?
jazz.
There's nothing illegal with me going to a toy store, buying a toy, and then selling it to someone else.
I guess there isn't in one country, but I guess once you go over international borders, there's some sort of law. It doesn't say what
I
law.
know. I'm just saying that this sort of thing, I'm sure there are bullshit laws against it. Just like all the laws to enforce and maintain things like region locking on various bits. In general, I think that those sorts of things shouldn't be allowed and shouldn't be enforced by any government.
I think, that's my argument against free trade is, people always argue, free trade is evil. People can, send jobs overseas without having to pay to import goods and all this stuff, and it's terrible. Well, it's only terrible because the only people who get to take advantage of the free trade are the people who are going to do generally bad things with free trade. If it was free trade for everyone, if I could trade freely with anyone else in the entire world, then it would be awesome. We could do all sorts of stuff. No one would be able to sell jeans in Europe for $60 and in America for $40. You couldn't get away with it. It would be awesome. Totally awesome.
You think someone's going to sell jeans for a $20 profit?
Actually, I remember when I went on vacation, people said, oh, yeah, Europeans come to America to buy jeans, and we go over there to buy gold, because I think the gold over there is cheaper, and the clothing over here is cheaper.
So anyway, in actual news, apparently there are a large number of penises on the Xbox Live cameras.
Well, this is an old news, but I think there was a particularly hilarious recent incident.
Well, I only went with this because Scott didn't seem to want me to talk about Jack Thompson.
Because it wasn't better than previous Jack Thompsons.
He might go to jail. He's up for jail, at least.
When he's in jail, then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, he's up for contempt. He might go to jail.
We'll see.
But there have been a bunch of news articles lately about the fact that because you can have a camera in Xbox Live, you can possibly see genitalia. And apparently, where all this is going down is in Uno, where people will play Uno, but they're not really playing Uno. They're just using their video chat to do funny things. People dressed up as Nazis or KKK guys or furries or naked guys masturbating furiously. That, by the way, is a quote from the article.
It makes it kind of worth it to get an Xbox 360.
I don't think I need to say it, Scott. Anyway, things of the day, which I can't say loudly because it'll clip.
All right, so Donkey Konga is this game that came out for the GameCube where you bang on bongos and clap, and it's a pretty simple rhythm game. You bang on the left bongo, the right bongo, both bongos at the same time.
Yeah, the game's really fun, but it's totally not in any way difficult to play or be good at. You can totally master the game in like 10 minutes at most.
Yeah, if you can do DDR, Donkey Konga is the easiest thing in the universe. Freaking Samba de Amigo is harder than Donkey Konga.
Samba de Amigo is freaking hard.
Yeah, it is. The point is, to make Donkey Kong more fun, you have to do the multiplayer mode where there's 4 people and each person has their own set of bongos. And unlike DDR, where in 2-player mode, both people dance the same arrows at the same time, in Donkey Konga, you sort of take turns bongoing. You know, one person does one thing, another person does another thing. Occasionally, you know, maybe 2 of the people will hit the same bongo at the same time. Everyone will clap together, you know. So it's a fun party kind of song where you
it's
all
not
work together.
It's not actually a game. It's more like Karaoke Revolution where you're just having fun.
Yeah, you all work together to create the music. Well, some guy decided Donkey Konga was too easy. So he got 4 sets of bongos. He tied them together to make this big 8 bongo set. He plugged it in and set it to 4-player mode, and he played all 4 sets of bongos by himself, and he beat it. He played the Pokemon theme song.
Great.
And he beat the whole thing.
Gotta catch 'em all?
Exactly.
That's in Donkey Konga?
Apparently it is.
That's not much of a song.
It is. It doesn't look like much of a song to me, but I don't think I could play 4 sets of bongos at once. I think it's a creative way of turning up the difficulty on a game that doesn't have the feature in it already.
Most definitely. Well, it's kind of like the idea we had back with Para to stick the 5 little flower pots on the wall instead of putting them on the floor.
I guess. There are all sorts of ways, you know. What if we took a DDR pad and cut up the arrows and moved them around?
Or like the guy who played the double neck Guitar Heroes.
Yeah, he played. That was pretty cool.
So it being gaming day, I've had this sitting around for a while, and I thought it was finally worthy of a thing of the day, just for the fact that no one would probably think to look it up on their own. So, if you were a child of the 80s, there was a cartoon on American TV, and it was on a lot of other, nations' TV too, called Dungeons and Dragons.
Wasn't that a 70s cartoon? Or am I wrong?
Well, yeah, it's an old cartoon. I don't know when it came out, but I saw it when I was a kid in the 80s. It was probably reruns.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a child of the 70s, so I can't speak for the 70s.
Yeah, I got to go look that up.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I was a child of the 80s. And this show was pretty piss poor. I got to tell you. This was not a good show, and it does not stand the test of time. And if you don't believe me, my thing of the day is on YouTube, people have put up some of the openers, the opening segments to this old Dungeons and Dragons cartoon.
Uh-oh.
I highly recommend, if you were a child of the 70s, 80s, or 90s, you watch this and take it as a warning to not actually watch that show. I mean, some shows have stood the test of time, like Gargoyles was actually pretty cool, and Exo Squad, and to a small degree Thundercats, but then there's shows like He-Man.
I'm having a hard time finding out what year the D&D cartoon came out in, but overall, it was a terrible freaking cartoon.
Yeah, good God. If you see this opener and you decide that it would be worth your time to see more of this show, I don't know what to tell you.
Like, a lot of people have nostalgia for it just because it's Dungeons and Dragons or because they saw it in their childhood. It's bad. Like, I'm nostalgic for He-Man because I liked He-Man when I was a kid. I can't watch He-Man now. He-Man is terrible.
He-Man is one of the worst of the childhood cartoons, I gotta say.
He-Man is ass.
I'd rather watch Teddy Ruxpin for a day straight than watch one episode of He-Man.
Oh, good God. I wouldn't watch Teddy Ruxpin either. Good God.
Compared to He-Man?
Yeah, even compared to He-Man.
One or the other. You would rather watch He-Man than Teddy Ruxpin.
Yeah, because at least I could laugh at Skeletor.
What about Gummy Bears?
I never actually watched Gummy Bears.
Gummy Bears was actually all right.
Yeah, some people say it was all right, but I'd have to see it. I don't know.
But anyway, we spent the weekend, as we've spent every weekend for the past, year, at a convention.
Oh, it was an 80s cartoon.
Yeah. So despite the fact that we are compressorless and the fact that our power cable is probably either sitting somewhere in the hotel or perhaps in one of the briefcases or bags of one of the staffers of Ubercon, we bring you our coverage of the second Ubercon 2006.
Well, I think it's actually, Ubercon VIII?
I don't remember which number it was, but this was a special Ubercon for us because it was the first time we went to Ubercon as guests.
Yep, it was Ubercon VIII, the 8th Ubercon ever.
Yeah, there haven't been so many Ubercons. I've realized that I've been to many of them, almost half.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. There are 2 a year. There's one in October, and there's one in February-ish.
Yep, basically Ubercon starts off the gaming season when it's too cold to go outside, and then it finishes the gaming season when the sun comes back out.
Yep. And this Ubercon was a lot like the last Ubercon we went to, only we were guests, and that was what changed the experience.
Well, and actually, because I went to an Ubercon the year prior, which is how because I didn't even know about Ubercon, but I remember one day I was living in the Mid-Hudson Valley working for IBM, totally alone and bored, and all my friends were still in college. So I look around and I see that there's this gaming con in New Jersey.
How could you avoid that?
Yeah, so I go down there, and out of the blue, I end up running into our good friend Ido, who apparently was a guest there.
Oh, holy crap.
Yeah, and Brian was there and all these other awesome webcomic artists, because apparently that year they invited all these webcomic artists to be guests.
Yeah,
And
there aren't so many webcomic artists there anymore, except for some awesome ones we'll talk about real soon.
yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So pretty much I spent my first Ubercon hanging out in the artist alley with all of them, meeting all the webcomic artists I have loved and adored over the years, and of course playing in the Settlers of Catan tournament, which apparently is at every Ubercon.
Great.
I don't think I need to speak on the fact that a Settlers tournament is kind of silly.
Very silly.
It's like having a Yahtzee tournament.
They had, believe it or not, I looked on the schedule, late Saturday night, there was a Hackmaster tournament game, like a regional, like entry-level game for this
See,
tournament.
You can't play Hackmaster in a non-ironic fashion. It's not a game that's meant to be taken seriously. That's like playing Hall dead serious, or trying to play Paranoia straight up.
Well, Paranoia does have a straight-up mode, but it's a different game in that mode. It's not the same game.
Yeah, I don't know if many people have ever pulled off Paranoia straight up, because most people are introduced to it the fun way, and then they stick with it.
I think it's just a different game.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But anyway, we have a little bit of a history with Ubercon, and this Ubercon and the previous Ubercon and the Ubercon before that are all pretty much the exact same con. You know exactly what you're going to get.
Yeah, and if you like what you're going to get, might as well go. What you're going to get is panels that no one goes to, RPGs that are awesome if you sign up for them and get into them, and board gaming all day and all night.
Not only board gaming, but lots and lots of miniature gaming and card gaming.
Yeah, all that stuff is. There's not really that much card gaming, but it's there. It's there.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's just we don't really go into those rooms.
Oh, I thought the card gaming was mostly in the same room as the board gaming. Is it? If it's in a separate room, then I wouldn't.
Well,
see
it is, but it's in other places too.
Oh, okay.
Now, it also has a small anime room, an artist alley that has mostly just the guests in it.
Yep.
And some randy people occasionally, though not this year.
No, they weren't. They left a note. Sorry, we couldn't come.
Kind of too bad. I wanted to interview them and then totally make fun of them.
Oh, that would have been great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because last time we went to Ubercon, we weren't guests or podcasters even. So now that we are, it's like totally different.
No, we had just started doing the show.
Had we?
We talked to Luke
No,
Crane.
the show. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we talked to Luke Crane. We were like, hey, can we interview you for our internet talking thing? And he was like, yeah, whatever, kids. And we come back a year later, and Luke Crane's like, hey, it's you guys. Awesome.
Yeah, and we're like, we're still doing that thing. We're better now.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later. We got a great interview with him.
Yeah, we did. Next week you'll hear it. Maybe 2 weeks from now.
Now, that's it. Ubercon is straight up a gaming con. You go there. It's a kind of con where you sign up for events ahead of time, and then you go to them, and every event has slots, and someone runs a thing.
Yeah, and if you're not in an event, you can always go into the big room and play some games.
In fact, they have a whole thing of board games you can check out with your badge and play.
And they actually had a better system for that this year. Last year, there was just a rack of games, and you would sign out a piece of paper and take the game. This year, it was the same thing, only the games were behind a desk, so you had to ask someone, so games were harder to steal.
Which is probably a good thing.
Definitely a good thing.
It also kept the games much neater.
It did, but it did make it slightly difficult to get a good look at all the games and pick one out.
It was the same games from last year.
It was, but there were a few new games in there.
If I were them, I'd print out a list of all the games.
I would print out a list and a description of all the games and have a little computer with Board Game Geek and all that good stuff.
Yeah, but anyway, we'll do a little chronology, and then we'll stop bit by bit when there's something interesting to talk about. I mean, we showed up Saturday morning. We only went one day since they definitely weren't going to pay for a hotel, and we're probably going to go to the next Ubercon all weekend.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, so we show up, and now due to the fact that they didn't really give me a lot of specifics as to what was entailed in us being guests, and I was worried, what if they're going to, your thing is rubbing off on me.
Uh-oh.
I said,
Maybe it got on me from someone else. I noticed that in a lot of I noticed that in a lot of podcasts I listened to today, people didn't say as much as I did, but they said it, now and then.
It's a big shit.
So
is what it is.
maybe from listening to so many podcasts, that's why I'm saying you know.
Oh, man.
It could be.
All right. So they gave me, all
right.
I didn't even know we were going to get in free originally. Well, I just, we're going to do this podcasting panel. Then they said some other people are going to be on the panel, and I'd talk back and forth a bit. And then Ubercon didn't contact me for a while. And I was a little worried that maybe something went wrong. Maybe they're disorganized. I've never worked with the con from this perspective before. Whatever. I'll just show up. And then the day before the con, I get an email with my Ubercon member registration as a guest. And not one for Scott. So I think, whatever. I don't care. And we go to the con. And I was worried, maybe they're disorganized. But then I discovered the reason it didn't matter was that it's a small enough con to where they're smart and they don't care. So I walked right up. I said, yeah, there's actually 2 of us here as guests. And they said, oh, okay.
Yeah, and they saw that I was in the database from the previous year, and it seems they just upgraded my status from guy to guest and printed out my badge.
Yep, for various reasons, I actually have 3 different entries in their database for the 3 different times I went. For various reasons.
I think I've managed to get 1 entry in the database, which is what I want. I like to have 1 database entry.
You want to know how many Otakon registrations I have floating around?
Yeah, I really want to get all mine merged, but we'll see. Because my member ID for Otakon is like 90-something. I'm really cool.
Yeah, your member ID. That makes you an awesome
It does,
guy.
2-digit Otakon member ID.
Yeah, well, I have one of the discontinued associate badges.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so we get registered, we go in. We try to sign up for Burning Wheel, the 4-player, what was it, the something wolves that we wanted to play.
Surrounded by wolves.
And it was already full.
It was already full, and we talked to Lik Sang, and he was like, yeah, that actually can only hold 4 people. So, oh well.
Yep, because the main reason we went was to bring 3 of our good friends in the front row crew to play Inheritance with Lik Sang, Burning Wheel, the same game that last Ubercon we played with Pete, and we're so utterly floored by that we all immediately bought all of the books for Burning Wheel as a system.
Yeah, and they successfully played in that game, so it was worth the trip.
Yep, we'll talk about that game in detail in a bit.
Yeah.
We're going to get all the con vitals out of the way first.
Mm-hmm.
So then, we dick around. We play a bunch of board games. We played this game called Mesopotamia.
Yeah, Mesopotamia was an okay game. It was a little bit gimmicky, though.
Yeah, it was gimmicky, but it was fun. It was kind of like Tikal in a fun kind of move things around way.
I definitely gave me that Tikal feeling. We didn't have action points, but you could only perform so many actions each turn, and you were moving around. You were moving around guys, putting more guys on the board.
Dude, the game came with 2 resources, rocks and wood, and it came with actual, real rocks.
Yeah, there were little tiny rocks, and there were little sticks of wood to represent the rocks and the wood.
You physically put them on your little peg and move them around.
Yeah, kind of crazy.
I would pay up to $25 for that game. It was a fun little game.
Yeah, maybe I'd pay $25 for it. It depends on how many times I would play it. I don't know, because while it was okay, I can't imagine a time I'd be in the mood to play Mesopotamia.
I can see playing it with people who are new to board games, basically.
Maybe.
Or just playing it for fun, to move stuff around.
Yeah, that's sure.
Yeah, we also played Outramare.
Ultramare. O-L-T-R-E space M-A-R-E. Ultramare.
Yeah, we're going to review both of these games on another show. This game was fantastic.
Ultramare is an awesome game. I had heard things about it on some other board game podcasts and Board Game Geek, and I never played it, but I went over to it was my turn to pick out a game, and I saw Ultramare, so I said, all right, let me try that, and I got it out, and I was trying to learn it, and it was a little not easy to learn. This guy comes up and he teaches it to us mostly, and we figured it out, and we were like, hot damn, this game rocks.
Yep, and then there were 2 cool people at the table, and we played it with them, and it was a pretty good game.
Yeah, I would pay $30 for that game, but they were selling it for $40 everywhere.
Yeah,
One place online was selling it for $31, but then they added shipping and handling, and it was almost $40. I was like, oh.
Sometime in the coming months, I'm going to head out to Rochester, so I'll probably stop by Millennium Games and just buy it.
That sounds like a plan. Oh, we also played the Tigris and Euphrates card game.
Yeah, which was better than expected, but is definitely a gimmick that is riding on the Tigris and Euphrates name.
Yeah. I mean, there was something to it, and as we played the game, a lot more strategies and possibilities emerged, and the game was a lot more complex than it first appeared. but at the same time, it's no Tigris and Euphrates.
Yeah, though the game really has the same problem that San Juan does. In Puerto Rico, pretty much one of the best board games ever made. Tigris and Euphrates, almost equally good in terms of fun. The card
And gameness.
Yes.
Yeah.
The card version of Puerto Rico, San Juan, little bit broken, not the best game.
I mean, it's really good and fun, but it's not a Puerto Rico.
Yeah, there's a lot more randomness in that you might just lose because of what you draw.
There's a chance.
Much bigger chance than in a game like, well, not really Puerto Rico, but Tigris and Euphrates.
Yeah.
Tigris and Euphrates card game suffers from that even more. If you just draw the wrong tiles or the wrong cards, there's nothing you can do to win.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I didn't play it enough to really know that much, but it seemed there was a lot of stuff, and as I played the game, I kept having more and more moments of enlightenment. So I want to play it at least once more to see if I can put the pieces together.
Yeah, I will note that Jess kicked our asses.
Yeah, she did.
We all thought we were doing great.
Yeah, if that shows you anything about this game, is that, we were thinking really hard, and I don't know, she didn't seem like she was... She didn't have much T&E experience. Maybe that helped.
Well, the problem was we forgot that she hadn't played Tigris and Euphrates before, so we just started playing this game because it has mostly the same rules and totally didn't teach her how to play, and yet she won.
Yeah. So it's good, bad, who knows?
I think what happened, and I don't want to go into detail on this, was that basically we were trying to apply Tigris and Euphrates strategies to this game. Because she had never played Tigris and Euphrates, she applied the obvious strategy to the game. The obvious strategy.
Well, that's what you always say when you play a game for the first time. You go for the obvious strategy.
Yeah, and you know what? It almost always works the first time you play a game with
unless
people.
you're playing against people who already know how to play.
But we thought we knew how to play and we didn't.
Yeah.
So I didn't use the obvious strategy.
If this same card game did not have a Tigris and Euphrates theme, we probably all would have used the obvious strategy.
Yeah, it was an okay game.
Yeah.
And other than that,
I don't know how I'd pay $10 for it.
Maybe.
The thing is, it's one of those card games that comes in a box that doesn't need to come in a box. It could just be a card game.
Yep.
That's
Also,
the same thing that gets me about San Juan. San Juan should really just be a deck of cards.
yeah.
But they sell it in his box to jack up the price.
Yeah, we can talk about all that when we talk about these games.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to turn our review of the con into a review of the games we played there.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah. So also, quick aside, we met some of our listeners. It was awesome to meet you. Once again, proving that all of our listeners that we've met in person have been awesome to some degree.
Yeah. Hey, listeners, what's up? You're cool.
And then we had our panel.
Okay, this
Now-
panel is kind of weird because we're not used to sharing a panel.
Well, yeah, the thing is, I said, hey, we'd like to do a podcasting panel. And they said, oh, great, we want a podcasting panel. We were just about to try to put one together. And then, a couple weeks later, I get an email. Would it be okay if you shared your panel with some people? And they list all these people. And I had no idea who these people were, and I Googled them, and I still didn't know who they were.
One guy, I kind of knew who he was. Possibly because he's a New York Times bestselling author.
Yeah. Now, the panel might have been okay, but, I mean, it's Ubercon, and no one went to the panel at all. So
there was one person at the panel who was not our friend.
Yes.
And was not a panelist.
Yeah, more than 50% of the audience for most of the panel was Jess and Katsu.
Yeah, and the panel was larger than the attendees.
Yes. It also had many more people than even Ubercon said would be on it. And one of them wasn't even talking about podcasting. He was talking about video casting.
Yeah.
And I guess the one thing, I mean, we don't have much to say about the panel because we just kind of sat there. No one really seemed interested in what we had to say.
The one person, I think it was mostly the other podcasters, they wanted to talk a lot about whatever they were thinking. And
Yeah, which was mostly...
we just didn't care.
They were talking mostly about how to monetize and make money off a podcast, and then detailed descriptions of the equipment they use.
Yeah, their crap equipment.
Yeah.
So, hey, yeah, if there was only one person at the panel, so what did we care? We handed out our flyers, we left, we got in for free, and all we had to do was sit there for an hour and listen to some other people.
Yeah, no, the thing is we wanted to run, game events and such, and Ubercon said they'd get back with us, and they never did, so... They effectively just paid us to go to Ubercon and not do anything but have fun on our own.
I think next time we're definitely going to push for more game events. And
yeah, I
because
think...
panels at Ubercon and are basically useless, it seems.
Yeah, there are two kinds of panels at Ubercon. A meet and greet for someone who's famous, which will get some people, or any other panel, which will have no one.
Yeah. I mean, let's get to the next bit. the guy, Rich Burlew from Order of the Stick, was there as a guest. And he's pretty much the guest that everyone cared about. And he's awesome.
Yeah, we are huge fans of Order of the Stick. I highly recommend that you read it if you would all like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
Even if you don't, it's a solid comic that stands up on its own.
Yeah, it's a solid comic that stands up on its own, but has lots and lots of D&D jokes.
But it also has non-D&D jokes.
Yeah.
Kind of like how people who don't play modern video games can still enjoy Penny Arcade.
It's kind of like that, exactly. But yeah, he was there, and he was selling his new board game, which I didn't play, so I can't talk about it.
Alex played it, so we'll probably get him on the show at some point.
Yeah, but I don't want to talk about something on the show I haven't played it.
Yeah. But
It was $40, or I would have bought it if it was less.
now, of course, he had pins and buttons and his new book for sale.
Yeah, I bought the new book because I already have books 0 and 1, so why not buy book 2? That
And
was
of
my
course-
first opportunity to get it.
He sold out of Zycon buttons a long time ago, apparently.
Grrr. I wanted my Zycon button. Oh well. Can't get everything. And his panels were well attended, even though they were not attended by me because I was doing other things. And I saw him at his dealer table, which is cool enough.
Yeah, he's a cool guy to talk to.
Yeah, very friendly, very awesome with his comic making.
Though, honestly, I've never met a popular author of a webcomic who was not a cool guy to talk to. I mean, as much as we make fun of Fred Gallagher and Mega Tokyo, he's still a pretty cool guy to talk to if you're on into him.
Yeah, it seems like comic creators are generally friendly and cool. Yeah, they're very easy people to talk to. You're not gonna. It's gonna be rare that you find a comic creator, writer, artist that's an ass. Is like, go away, grr.
The most I've run into is...
And if they are an ass, it's very likely their comic sucks and you don't want to read it.
Yeah, well, the most I've run into is some people are really, really, really shy.
Some of them are very shy, but people who are shy tend to not get dealer tables and artist tables and things like that unless they're forced into it.
Yep, which they often are.
Sometimes.
So aside from that, kind of an outside of the con issue, but every year, right next to the con, there was a mall with a really, really, really good food court that had great food. I always ate there.
Yeah, you got to understand that this is right near Giant Stadium in New Jersey. There's Secaucus, New Jersey is this town. And this is Expo Center. The Expo Center is like a little mini convention center that Anime Next uses for part of its convention.
Yep.
And around that Expo Center are many hotels, offices, restaurants, a whole bunch of crap, mostly to support the Giant Stadium area and also the businesses that are just down the road.
But there's nothing else.
Oh, there's a New Jersey train station, I think.
Yeah, there's
But,
nothing
yeah,
else.
and a commuter stop, and that's it. It's this little area that's sort of surrounded by Jersey divider roads that has hotels and crap.
I mean, it wasn't really that much better than being, in Utica, New York.
No, it really wasn't. And one part of this place has a mall. And this mall, we went there last year to eat, and it has a food court that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I've eaten there several times. My last 2 previous Ubercons, it was great. So we figure, we're going to go get good food there.
Mm-hmm.
We go. The mall is going out of business. All the stores are shut down except for a few scraggly hangers-on.
Yeah, it's like, I'd say 66% of the stores in the mall were just closed.
Boarded up with rubble inside.
Yeah, I mean, they had the chain gates down and locked, and that was it. The GameStop EV was still open.
Yep, barely.
Half the food court was open.
Yeah, the bad half.
The KB Toys was open, but everything was clearing out.
Yeah,
they had like a buy one get one half off sale.
Yeah, whatever. No one cares about that. The point is,
Yeah.
there's nowhere to eat lunch anymore at this convention.
So we had to drive around this whole Expo Center area to get to the place we ate at Anime Next.
Yeah, some restaurant. So
Because Anime Next and Manga Next are on the other side of the place, and Ubercon is in a hotel on the other side of this road.
I don't know what the deal is, but just be warned that there's no longer anywhere to get a good lunch at the con.
Except for the place that we ate.
That's kind of far away. You can't just walk to it.
Yeah, you have to drive to it, but it is good. Hamburger in Paradise, right?
Yeah,
Is what
it
it's
doesn't
called?
matter. It's over there.
Yeah.
Of course, also, actually, one nice thing
There's an
Ubercon-
Outback, too.
which isn't open for lunch.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Bastards. I forgot
But
that.
at least the con seems to have mitigated this by having a super cheap lunch dinner thing in the con. You can buy a hamburger or a hot dog and a bunch of stuff for like $2 or $3.
Yeah, that's pretty cool compared to other conventions, which super overpriced the con food. They just sold normal. I mean, it probably wasn't the greatest food, but
No, I've eaten it before. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, cool. And also, a lot of people at Ubercon call out for pizza and Chinese. A whole lot. And I noticed, actually, at the Ubercon help desk, they had menus for all the restaurants for people to call out to.
You know, every hotel has that.
No. At the Ubercon desk. Not at the hotel desk. Ubercon actually collected these things and provided them to attendees.
That's nice of them.
Yeah. I mean, they had some foresight there.
Well, Ubercon's generally a pretty well-run convention.
Well, when you run the same convention 8 times in a row, you'll learn something new every time, and you can prepare for it the next year. You can just keep making things a little bit better, a little bit better.
So while we were doing all that running around, Jess, Katsu, and Alex went to play Inheritance with Luke Crane, Burning Wheel, Viking Funeral.
Yep, it is a game which we had previously played in the year before. Well, not the year before, less than a year before.
Yeah, the previous Ubercon.
Yeah, the game that made us go, holy shit, Burning Wheel is the best RPG, oh my god.
Yes, you probably want to listen to our previous episodes about Burning Wheel if you want to hear more about the system. And also, probably next week, or maybe because next week is Halloween, the week after that, we have the interview that we did with Luke Crane, because we went to make sure that our friends would all be in the Inheritance game. The point of all of our friends coming was nothing more than so they could play in this game with Luke Crane to see how Burning Wheel works.
Yeah, because we had already played the game, and our friend Pete, who didn't go, had already played in the game. But we had 3 of our other friends who were big role players had not played Burning Wheel. And while some of them had read the books and, on our bequest, they didn't actually know, they didn't have the full Luke Crane experience, as they call it. So they didn't know firsthand how awesome it was, and they we could explain it to them, but you don't know until you're there. So they got to play in it and see what we were talking about, and we were not shit talkers.
Now, I'll say this. When we played Burning Wheel and Inheritance the first time, we were at the con, we're playing it, and throughout the second half of the game, because the game lasts 4 hours, like a solid 4 hours.
Well, even a one-shot of a simple RPG is going to take a while. Yeah, that's sort of the point. If it's real quick, then you're not getting much out of it.
Well, yeah, but the point is we were there, and I remember that while we were playing, about an hour to 45 minutes before the end, people started coming up, and they'd go up to Luke, and they'd ask things like, did it happen yet? Did you read it yet? Ooh, tell us when it's going to happen. And then a crowd gathered around the game right before the will of the Viking father was read, and then there was chaos in the game, and then the crowd was like, ah ha ha!
Yeah.
So then we played the game and we realized what was going on. So this time, our friends were in the game. We came about a half hour before it ended and watched the second half to see the craziness.
Yeah, it was kind of surprising how different their game was from ours.
Yeah, we're really...
I didn't get all the details because I wasn't super paying attention, but I could tell very obviously what was going on, and it was way wrong. Way wrong.
Yeah, to not ruin this, because if
I guess it's an RPG. You can't be wrong, but... it was wrong.
If you ever have the chance to play Inheritance with Luke Crane or anyone running it in Burning Wheel, do it. But our game ended with pretty much everyone happy, everything resolved, the family was stronger than ever and closer than ever, everything was beautiful, and the Christian missionary had been hung for his horrible atrocities. And that was it. And at the end of their game, everyone was miserable. The family was broken in two asunder. They had basically exiled their only hope of salvation. Everyone distrusted each other. And then the guy played by Katsu ended up trying to steal the honor of the female lead.
Yeah, that shows you something that was going on in that game. Because Katsu's character, to be honest, isn't really a major character. He's not a big player in the game. Yet to do such a big thing, it's like, whoa.
It wasn't just that. The game went just completely differently, which was interesting considering that it's the exact same setup. The game starts the same way. The characters are all identical every time. It's just how you play them.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Just another example of the awesomeness that is the Burning Whale.
Yep. So, of course, after the game, we talked to Luke. We all went over by the bar because that was the place to hang out, though we had to leave because there was karaoke going on. And not fun gamer karaoke, not Japanese awesome karaoke, not nerdy Time Warp karaoke, but drunken bar karaoke.
Bad karaoke.
Sad karaoke.
Very bad karaoke.
So we just found another place to hang out, and then we talked to Luke for a while and all of his friends. And
Yeah, we also hung out with, I think the guys from Artesia were there, the guys who published Mouse Guard and a bunch of other comics.
Yeah, and we talked a lot about, they go to a very different set of conventions from us. So they told us about the conventions they go to, and we told them about the conventions we go to. And I think we're going to hook up with them at some conventions in the near future.
Yeah, I made them laugh, which is pretty impressive because these are like serious comic publishing dudes, and they didn't say, "Go away, fanboy," which means, ah ha ha. I got something.
Yep, though more importantly then, we sat down with Luke and, oh God, I feel so bad. What was the other guy's name? It's in the interview.
Tor.
Good enough. Stop there.
Yeah.
Don't dig a hole.
Olafson. He had a Viking name.
He did. He was very Viking in demeanor too.
Yes.
And we got an absolutely fantastic interview with Luke Crane. You are really going to want to hear this, and we'll put it up sometime in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to start doing more interviews next year, but we're not going to go crazy because a lot of other podcasts go interview nuts.
Well, we've got a bunch lined up that we just never followed through with for, various reasons, but we're going to get the Video Game Pianist if we can, since he really wanted to do an interview.
Yep.
We'll probably talk to Entertainment System because that would just be fun, I'll bet.
Yeah, we'll get a bunch of interviews, but maybe one a week, one every other week, something
at
like
most.
that.
It's not going to become interviews with Rim and Scott.
Yeah, that would suck, actually, because then you would never hear us talk. And, if you're listening to the show and this isn't your first time listening, you're listening because you like hearing us. And in an interview, the thing we want to do is hear the other guy, the guy we're interviewing. You don't want to hear us. So if it was just interviews, then we become irrelevant. Anyone could do the interviews.
But all in all, Ubercon was, as usual, exactly what we expected. It was a fantastic con for us because we played 1 million board games and talked to Luke. It was a fantastic con for the rest of the crew because they got to play Inheritance.
Yeah.
Though I'll warn you, a lot of times, we recommend a con, and people say, oh, great, and they go. Ubercon is a great con, but don't be under any illusions. If you don't want to sit down and play German board games and play role-playing games all day, there is nothing for you at this con.
Yeah, if you go to an anime con like Otakon, or even a smaller anime con, say Anime Next, you can do a lot of things there. You can shop, you can cosplay, you can take pictures, you can go to panels, you can play video games, you can do all sorts of shit. So if you get bored of one activity, you can move to another. At a gaming con like Ubercon, especially a small gaming con, all you can really do is there's a little LAN party area sponsored by NVIDIA, and there's a little tiny video game area, really tiny. You could play Guitar Hero or Smash Brothers. But the majority of the convention is freaking play board games, play miniatures games, play RPGs from Friday night to all day Friday through all day Sunday and all day Saturday. And that's all there is. So unless you're ready to play lots of games, you're going to be very bored at the convention, and it's not cheap to get in.
No, it's not.
No, it's actually quite expensive to go to a gaming convention like this.
Of course, it's better than a lot of gaming cons that aren't expensive to get in, but then you have to pay like $4 for every event you sign up for.
Yeah, those are actually I prefer the Ubercon way. I'd rather pay $40 or $60 and be able to play any game I want than have to pay for every single freaking game.
Yep, that's very much the Otakon philosophy. Never should you have to pay for anything more than getting into our doors.
Yeah, I think that's the way all amusement parks should work also.
Now, also, two nice things. That one thing that Ubercon does for all the people there is that they will give you all of the AMP energy drink and all of the fortified milk that you can drink.
Yeah.
Unlimited access.
Well, at night they stop filling the coolers, but during the day they have these big tubs full of ice water, and floating in the ice water are these milk chiller things that are like chocolate milk and strawberry milk, and AMP energy drinks.
I had about 9 amps.
Did you see that RPG that was going on diagonally?
Oh, God, that group of people combined had drunk like 40 or 50 of those things.
They just filled their table with amps, and then when their game was over, they took pictures of all of them. I'm surprised they didn't die or start having seizures over
If I have more than 1 or 2 Red Bulls in short succession...
Well, Red Bull, I think, is more powerful than AMP.
Yes, it is. But
Isn't AMP just like double Mountain Dew?
Yeah, AMP is just double Mountain Dew. Red Bull has a lot of other things in it.
See, I don't even drink this shit, but I know.
The other thing is, I don't like AMP. AMP tastes like a concentrated Mountain Dew Slurpee.
Mm-hmm.
Or slushy, if you will.
What does Red Bull taste like?
Red Bull just tastes good. I mean, it doesn't taste like cough medicine.
It smells like cough medicine.
It's hard to describe. I like it, though. I really like the taste of Red Bull, and I drink it more often than I probably should.
You probably do drink it more often than you should.
And I will say that Scott Johnson and I mean, we don't drink often, but Red Bull and vodka is rapidly becoming one of my favorite drinks. I mean, right there with my old man drinks, like my Manhattan. And, that reminds me, the bartender at Ubercon had no idea how to make real drinks.
All right.
She knew how to make, like she could get you a beer, and she was making, like normal whatever drinks that gamers were drinking. I tried to order a Manhattan, and I got a blank look followed by her slipping around the back and looking it up in a book. And then she still screwed it up, and she basically gave me a Tom Collins glass full of Jack Daniels.
Great.
Yeah, that was just wonderful.
Awesome. How much of it did you drink?
All of it.
Awesome.
Over the course of 2 hours.
Oh, well, that's fine then.
Yeah, I'm going to chug effectively a quarter bottle of Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
That would have been a fantastic idea.
I do gotta say, this convention was definitely cool for me because I played 3 or 4 new board games, which is, I love playing new board games. Even if it's a crap game, I'll play any board game once if I haven't played it before. Just because learning it is fun, even if the game is crap.
We got in free.
And my interview skills went from crap to awesome.
Yes, I mean, normally I'd make fun of Scott, as you all seem to think I do all the time, which we make fun of each other pretty equally. Because the interview started out kind of but...
Because it's like I couldn't get the ball rolling. I was like, because my goal was, here is this guy, I know he has awesome and entertaining things to say. I must make him say those things. And that was all I was trying to do the whole time. And I started out stupidly. I was like, duh, where are you from? Duh.
Yep.
Duh.
Now, I'd gone around a lot with the recording bit at other cons, interviewing random people, and then listening to my own interviews, which started out painful and then got better as I figured out what to say and what not to say.
In about 5 minutes of going, I got him to say one intelligent thing, and then I was just, from there, I didn't screw up.
Well, that man can talk. You get him on a roll, as long as he's still facing the microphone.
It was sort of like this snowball. I just had to roll it a bit down the hill, and then I was all good.
Well, plus it helped, and a little tidbit, a little hint to what's coming up in this awesome interview. We got to a point where we discovered that Luke Crane and his friend are really into metal.
They're fucking metal, goddamn.
They are more metal than us, and the only reason I knew even half of the bands they mentioned was because Pete has mentioned them and played them for us in the past.
Yeah. So awesome.
Yes, our group I think would get along just fine with the Luke Crane group.
Yeah, Luke Crane also doesn't drink like me, which is cool. So hey,
as opposed to me and Scott Johnson.
All right. Are we done talking about Ubercon?
Last and not least,
New Jersey sucks.
No, New Jersey's nice. New Jersey roads suck.
New Jersey also sucks a bit.
Why? I got nothing against Jersey. I like Jersey. I just don't like driving in Jersey.
Anyway.
But also, Ubercon, I mean, most cons we go to when we're guests, they don't give us much other than a free in, or maybe they pay for the hotel. Animazement probably has the best package of all with the crazy party at the end. But Ubercon gave us these really nice Ubercon bags full of various goodies.
Yeah, we got the bags that con attendees get, which are pretty good, considering there's an amp in there.
Well, the thing is, the bag they put it in...
There's like a Riffs book in there.
Yeah, but the bag they put it in was a fancy bag.
Yeah, the guest bag, you get some of the same stuff as the, con attendee bag. But you get other stuff, too, that's awesomer.
Yeah, the patrician benefits. But actually, I mean, unlike a lot of anime cons, since the anime industry's been kind of slumping, you get a lot of good stuff in the Ubercon bag. They get a lot of sponsorships that really fit with gaming. I mean, a Slim Jim, some caffeinated gum, and an amp soda.
Yeah, sounds cool to me. I think it's just that there's a lot of companies that have to do with gaming. There's, especially when you include the RPG companies, the collectible card companies, the board game companies,
the caffeine companies,
the video game companies. You're covering a lot more industries, so it's easier to get a sponsor, because if one industry is lacking, you can just get the other industries to give more stuff. The anime cons, you pretty much have this one set of companies, and they don't seem to be putting out as much as they used to for the con sponsorship action. So, I don't know. It was nice to get stuff again at a con.
Yeah, so hopefully for the next Ubercon, we'd like to go back and actually run events at it. I'll try to get in touch with the person who runs the gaming events and see if we can be GMs.
Yeah, I'm also I ordered some small press RPGs. I'll talk about those later in some future episodes. But I'm going to learn them, and hopefully there will be some awesome involving them at future Ubercons or on this show. Or I'm going to definitely do awesome with them.
Yep, and of course, once again, I apologize for the pacing and, more importantly, the audio quality of tonight's episode. It will resume normal awesomeness as soon as we get our new compressor shipped there.
Yep, we're going to order it right now.
Yep, and stay tuned for the Luke Crane interview about Burning Wheel and metal, because it is quite metal.
Slayer!
And that was Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for our opening theme.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com. If you like our podcasts, you'll love our forums. Make sure you visit them. You can send your email feedback to geeknights@gmail.com. And if you want, you can leave us a voicemail at 206-333-1537.
Geeknights airs every weeknight, Monday through Thursday.
Geeknights is recorded with absolutely no studio and no audience. But unlike those other talk shows, it's actually recorded at night.